Hi folks, Aaron Kopel, CEO of Project Brilliant here. I help leaders create agile organizations. And in this video, we're picking up where we left off in the introduction to the Stacey Matrix and going to show how traditional projects go in a complex environment using this model. And so what we're thinking about here is if we're thinking about agile, of course, we're thinking about complexity and dealing with complex projects. And so we're going to start with that, a highly complex project, maybe out here on the verge of chaos where we may not have a whole lot of certainty about the what and the how. And when we have that kind of a situation, what we're going to do, of course, in a traditional kind of approach, think about waterfall, phase gate, whatever you want to call it. What we're going to do is try to gain certainty about the what first, right? So oftentimes we're moving down on the diagram here, trying to gain certainty about the what, and eventually we've got enough that we start worrying about the how, and then we try to bring the project to success. And so that's sort of the nice smooth path here that we're trying to get with our project delivery. And so oftentimes if we're thinking about the stages or milestones we go through, there are things like gathering requirements, analyzing those requirements, maybe designing a solution. We're going to build it, we're going to test it, and then we're going to give it to the customer, deploy it. And so those kind of stages are typical in this kind of approach. And so as we think about how this typically runs and how we keep track of these kind of projects, we're usually getting off on the right foot. Things are green in terms of like a project status. Oftentimes we start off well, things are green because we're successfully meeting our milestones that we've laid out to tackle these first few milestones of gather requirements, analyzing and designing. And by the time we get to actually, implementation and starting to build the thing, then that's when it might have been a while since we gathered requirements. Stakeholders might be, discovering new things they think should be added to the product. And this is where oftentimes we start to turn yellow. And so it's yellow in that maybe there are other options we should be considering. Maybe things have changed. We want to start making change requests, stuff like that. And so what happens though, oftentimes, is we have a good project manager whose job is to shepherd this project to success and make sure things stay on track. And when the project goes from green to yellow, stakeholders often start asking questions like, hey, what's going on over there? The project was green, now it's yellow, what's happening? And so the project manager's response is often, technically it says yellow, but don't worry, things are under control, it's going to be okay. We're smart people, we know how to do projects, it's going to be all right. Don't worry too much, things are just fine. We're going to work nights, weekends, it'll be okay, don't worry. And so what we're doing then is pretending that this yellow project is green, and we're oftentimes pretending it's just a technicality. And so we pretend it's green even though it's yellow. And then the unfortunate thing is, by the time we get towards the end, when it's kind of too late to do anything about it, we realize the project is actually red in that we're behind schedule, over budget, or maybe both, right? And so oftentimes we call these watermelon projects, green on the outside, but if we look closely, they're bright red on the inside, right? In a complex environment, it's really hard to nail things down up front is kind of the point here. And when we kid ourselves into thinking that we got it all covered, that's when things often don't go as expected. And so the reason for this, to understand from a leadership perspective, is that we have some guide rails in the organization that often dictate that we should go through this process. And so these guide rails we have, this is the mindset and the policies of the organization that say, from a mindset perspective, we should nail things down. We should gain confidence and nail things down up front to make sure that we're okay with it. And the policies we have about how we get work done, how we budget for things, how we monitor them. So these guide rails that exist in the organization sort of force us down this path. And so our approach to traditional risk management is often things like sign-offs. So signing off on milestone documents and that kind of stuff, and really just simply coming to agreement, right? So what happens is we get a lot of stakeholders involved who look at the milestones, right, and say, yep, that looks good, and the right 35 people sign off on it, and we all agree. And it feels good, right? And we feel like we're green, but have we really reduced risk by just us internally agreeing on something? And the answer, of course, is no, right? We haven't really discovered that that's what the customer needs, and we haven't really discovered that that's how we should build the solution. All we've done is come to agreement internally inside of our bubble, right? And that's a very risky situation, actually. We feel like we're reducing risk, but what's happening is we're creating more risk by making assumptions and then pretending that we've validated them. And so, unfortunately, this approach to traditional project delivery is very risky if you're in a complex environment where things are changing. That could work well if you're in a simple environment, but if we're in a complex environment, nailing things down up front can be very dangerous, right? So just want to understand that perspective as we head towards our next video, which will talk about the agile delivery approach here and how that compares to the traditional. So with that, thanks for watching and hope to see you again soon.